So like I said, we're not connected to that ancient science that we used to be on anymore. So you'll find like sporadic, people of our descendancy, of our lineage that have come out, and they'll just be on some God stuff, like inventor of the well, first of all, we had the light bulb way back in Kemet, which is, they don't understand, they don't tell you that, but they'll say, oh, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, but then they'll go, there's a brother who invented the filament for the light bulb. So the light bulb didn't work until the filament was invented, to make it spark up. So have you guys seen that video about what it would be like without Black inventions? Have you seen that video? Anyone? Everyone?
No, I heard you talk about it though.
All right, well, I want to show you guys this video because it's fucking hilarious. But it's about the inventions that we created. Let me turn the share screen on. So you guys, I want to make sure you guys understand to mute your phones when you're not talking, because more than us will just be watching this video. Other people will, they get the videos later on who aren't able to join the class. And so when I'm talking and you guys make a noise in the background, these mics are really sensitive. So then it'll cut out a word or something like that. And so it'll miss the whole context of what I'm saying. So make sure you guys mute your phone. Let me share the screen. You doing it? All right. So let me see if I can. Let me see if it comes up. There it is. So this video is hilarious. We need to check this out real quick.
Yo, it is crazy how they make people of color look in this country, son. All that we've done for America, and we get credit for nothing.
Like what?
What you mean, like what? Is that a real question? Yeah. What, you want me to go down the list or something? Because I'll do it. All right. How about our blood, sweat, and tears and free labor making this country rich? No. How about giving you guys rhythm, culture, music, and our biggest stars? Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Prince, should I continue?
Okay, look. I get it. Black people, sorry, African Americans, have added a lot to our current culture. Yeah. I don't know, personally, I just feel like you guys take it a little too far with the contributions.
How do we?
Look, you do realize that you're not all descended from kings and queens, right? But right. And furthermore, Africans have been enslaving other Africans for long before we.
No. I am not trying to hear that, all right? Indentured servitude is completely different from the transatlantic slave trade. First of all, Africans did not lynch other Africans. Our inventions are the cornerstone of society as we know it today. People would not be able to live the lives that they live without the stuff that we have invented.
What have Black people invented that is so important that we can't live without it? Yeah, butter. Butter jelly. Where he at?
Whoever just joined the conversation, mute your phone.
Look, I bet you cash money that you cannot spend a day without using Black cash. I put money on it, man. 100 cash right now. If you lose, you gotta watch an entire season of Martin. Martin. Gina, Pam, All of that. Martin. What's up? Martin. Okay. All right. We got a deal. But if I win, which you won't, if I win, then you have to watch an entire season of Frasier.
Hey, that is like the whitest show in existence, man.
Deal's a deal.
What do you say?
Frasier. I'm gonna go win, so it's a deal.
Okay.
Sorry, but I can't let you have this one.
No. Oh, no. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Everybody knows that.
See, that's what the white man wants you to think. It's not true. Thomas Edison may have invented the light bulb, but it wouldn't have worked without the filament in the light bulb, which was invented by Lewis Latimer. You want to guess what his race is? Let me hear it right here.
Do I have to?
A black man, that's right. I'm gonna take this with me.
Say bye-bye. Come on.
The elevator. Alexander Miles. Guess what he is? A black man. That's right. Go take the stairs. No. Take the stairs like my ancestors had to. Oh, no. Skirt. Take the one down the hallway. That's right. Walk it out. You need to exercise. Would do.
I don't care what anybody says about Donald Trump's thing, all right? Well, Cheeto is a great color. Why doesn't anybody listen? I don't know. What the hell?
Henry T. Sampson invented the cell phone. A black man.
No way that's true.
Google it. Right, you can't, because he ain't got a cell phone.
And just for those who are watching, people will Google it and they'll try to get in an argument. So if you get in a debate or argument, and they'll try to tell you someone else invented the cell phone, Henry T. Sampson invented the technology that made the cell phone possible. It made it possible to store power and energy in batteries in a cell. He created the cell, and so that was the precursor to the cell phone.
Come on, I need to do business on that. Can I have it back, please?
Oh, you gotta do business on it?
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta do business. Important.
Yes.
Oh, well, my ancestors, they wanted their freedom. Could they have that? No. I don't think so. Enjoy your day. See, the egg beater was invented by Willis Johnson. A black man. Go make yourself something up. Chief, hey there, cooking up something?
Oh my God. What now? You gonna tell me that a black guy invented adobo and onions?
No, baby, cracker. But you wanna know who invented the stove? T.A. Warren, a black man. I suggest you get some takeout.
Fine. Find something else.
You go do that. What you doing? looking for some food. Well, not gonna get food from here, because this is a refrigerator. Guess who invented that? John Standard, a black man. I suggest you find something else to eat, buddy. All right, fine. Wanna grab me some bread? Make myself a sandwich. Oh, you making a sandwich? Yeah. What type of sandwich? Butter and cheese. All right, I see where this is going. Yeah, you do. Enjoy your day. Potato chip. George L. Crumb. Black man.
Give me them chips, nigga.
Alfred L. Crail invented the ice cream scoop. That's what he is. A black man. But let's try and fish that out. What you thought this was? J. Ross Moore invented the dryer. A black man.
How am I supposed to dry it?
Well, maybe you should use a clothesline and air dryer, like my ancestors did. Oh.
Sorry, I can't let you do that.
And why the hell not?
Some guy gave me $40 and told me to stop you from using anything made by a black man.
Jesus, what am I supposed to use now? You gonna tell me that a black man invented the number 2 pencil?
No, but the pencil sharpener was made by John Lee Love. A black man. Sorry, he specifically told me to do that.
All right. This is getting way out of hand. This is my only pencil, and I have to finish this paper, okay?
He told me you were going to say that, so he wanted me to read this to you. Oh, boo-hoo. You think my ancestors had an extra pencil when they taught themselves how to read and write. Sorry. The improved fountain pen was made by William Purvis, a black man.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Ooch. Good luck driving without a traffic light. What? Garrett P. Morgan invented the traffic light. You want to guess what he is?
Oh, let me guess.
A black man.
No. I'm so sick of this. No, I can't wash my clothes. I can't cook. I can't take the elevator. What do you expect me to do? Black people did not invent everything.
Yeah, we did.
Everything is a black man. You have a black man, a black man, a black man. Not everything was created. Oh, no.
Oh, damn. Yo, you all right? You good? Yo, that was crazy, son. You gotta learn how to drive. Oh my God. Yo, you are losing a lot of blood right now, man. Yo, you need a transfusion or something right now, bro. It's too bad, though. Because guess who invented the blood bank? Charles Drew. You want to know who he is? Let me hear it. A what? 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 Oh, what? Oh, black man, that's right.
Nah, you call the cops where you got my property. Hello? 911? Yeah, this white guy. He's down in the driveway.
So you guys get the picture of that one. The reason we showed that, the reason I showed that was because this is who we used to be. We were inventors, we were creators of pretty much everything. And we have gotten away, so far away from that, that they literally laugh when they look at us. When they think about who we are today, I mean, it's it's disgusting. But they're in disbelief of how far we've fallen in a conscious sense. So we're getting back on, we're staying on the fact of why we were gods. And a major part of that was the sciences that we used, but also the melanin. And so we were getting into that last week. And I was trying to read to you, I was trying to read to you guys out of the book. So, but there were some pages that I skipped past, and there was very important stuff that I had to read to you guys. So we're gonna get back on that really quick. So if you guys still have the website, you can try to go there. This is actually one of the, what I'm showing you right now. This is one of the files that I have on Melanin that I made, and so it looks better. It's just in a. So each chapter, and so this shows you how big each chapter is. This is just one, one chapter, all the way down. So that's why it's like 2 books. That's why it's 2 books long. But from this, I wanted to show you, we were talking about why your melanin, or what powers your melanin. And I was saying that your melanin had something called microorganic copper. And that's from an enzyme that we produce called tyrosinase. So if I can find tyrosinase. So right here. So I'm going to read it. So the enzyme tyrosinase is found in the melanosome of the melanocyte. So the melanocyte is the cell. The melanosome is the production factory within the melanocyte, within the cell, that produces melanin. Okay, it's like a little factory that adds all these different chemicals that produces the melanin inside the cell. So just think of the melanocyte as the warehouse, and then the melanosome is the little factory inside that's doing all the work, putting all the things together. So the enzyme tyrosinase is found in the melanosomes of the melanocyte and is essential in the synthesis of melanin. The enzyme, which is also known, the enzyme, which is also known in the catalyzed form, is a protein with a copper base, which catalyzes the oxidation of tyrosine up to producing a brown or black pigment. If we consider that the tyrosine is a substituted phenol, we can imagine that putting phenol in the well, we don't need to know that. That's for the experiment. So just the upper part, if we want to stop here, again, the enzyme tyrosinase is found in the melanosome of the melanocyte and is essential in the synthesis of melanin. The enzyme which is also known in the catalyzed form is a protein with a copper base, which catalyzes the oxidation of tyrosine up to producing a brown or black pigment. So I was saying in the episode before, or the class before, that oxidation happens from, because you have iron as the base chemical as well in your melanin, whereas chlorophyll has magnesium as its base chemical. So iron oxidizes as well. So you see copper, iron, these different metals oxidizes, which produces a certain pigment. So now this next one is really the one I wanted to read you guys. All right. So right here. Where is it? Come on. Now this is extremely important. So the absence or the inactivity of the enzyme, and this is they're talking about tyrosinase, right? So the absence or the inactivity of the enzyme is the cause of that disease in man known as albinism. This metabolic error, they call it, right? If you don't produce tyrosinase, it's an error. So meaning that mostly everything in the living world produces tyrosinase, except these people called albinos. So this this metabolic error, which is congenial, discolors the skin and the hair, makes the eyes sensitive to light, and in general, shortens life. Did you hear that? And so people who don't produce tyrosinase, their lives are shortened. It says albinism, that is the block, excuse me, albinism, that is the block on chemical reactions which lead to melanin, is also noted in other mammals, but is rather rare in those which live in the wild because they are soon eliminated by natural selection. Did you hear that? Did you guys get that? I wanted to,
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you guys to, if somebody understood what that meant, tell me, because I want you. If you guys aren't understanding what we're getting, then this doesn't.
What I got from that is the reason why we have albinos and people right now is because we kind of keep them around, because in the jungle, in the nature, they would normally be taken out because they couldn't defend for themselves.
Bam. Yes. Yes. It's saying innate albinism in the mammal or in the animal world is rare because those motherfuckers are taken out immediately. They're like, what the fuck are you? And then they basically they get snatched up by the population.
Yeah, because you just talked about the whole thing about they can't, the sensitive to the sun and far as their eyesight and all that. So those things would cause them to be in a bad position. So that's why it would be taken out, because they can't function as everybody else or every other animal.
So you're right. So humans, in humans don't do that because we just don't kill. We're not going to, a baby, an albino baby that's born to its mother's baby, the mother's just not going to kill it. And then it's not going to let anybody else kill it, no matter what. The mother still loves it. However, being in that society, among that group, and that culture, it's still going to be ostracized. It's like, what the fuck is that? And so the more and more you have of those being born, then eventually they have to, because of many different reasons, because the sun was killing them in that region, you got the sun beating down, and which is a main reason they don't produce a lot of vitamin D. So that's why they have to drink milk. But so in that region, the sunlight is tearing up their skin. Plus they're getting, they're the outside, they're in the outskirts of society because they're the albinos. Plus African culture, they believe that albinos were good luck, so they would cut them up. They do this today. We'll get into that later. I have a documentary breaking down how this was just recently in Africa. A guy he went to jail because he sold his brother to some people for $200 because they cut him up and then ground his penis into powder because they believed that it was magic. And so, but they ground up all the body parts though. They believe that albinos are magic. So they cut him. So he sold his brother for $200. That's equivalent to $200 American dollars. And they cut him up. So this is going on today. So think, back then, you know what I mean? So you're right. Then so that's exactly what that said.
That's your question.
Uh-huh.
Okay, when in the Bible it talks about leprosy and how most lepers were basically, kind of castaways. They were like in the outskirts of the city. This is basically kind of throughout the Bible. Is that talking about albinism to your knowledge, you think?
Leprosy is albinism. If you
Okay.
read it, it talks about the yellow hair. Like if you look in the Bible, it talks about, when it talks about leprosy, it talks about the whitening of the skin, the yellow hair. That's exactly what albinism. That's what albinism is.
Okay.
They changed leprosy to be something else, but it was literally it was like vitiligo, when your skin was started to turn white. That's literally they changed the term. They changed the term. So vitiligo today would be leprosy back then. So with Michael Jackson had. So let's see. So let me just read that one more time. So albinism, that is the block, excuse me, albinism, that is the block on chemical reactions which lead to melanin, is also noted in other mammals, but is rather rare in those which live in the wild because they are soon eliminated by natural selection. From a genetic point of view, albinism is due to the transformation of a dormant gene able to synthesize, excuse me, let me read that again. From a genetic point of view, albinism is due to the transformation of an A-dominant gene. Okay, so a transformation of an A-dominant gene able to synthesize the tyrosinase into a recessive allele, which no longer produces the enzyme. Hyperactivity of the enzyme can produce, vice versa, large areas of highly pigmented skin, or be associated with those terrible tumors called melanomas, which are observed on the skin of a large number of animals, from fish to man. So Black people also get melanomas too. So sometimes instead of vitiligo, the melanin turns the other way and produces too much melanin, and it turns to a melanoma. Right?
You said Black people can get melanoma?
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Oh yeah. A lot of times, that's where they get their melanin from melanin. So if you guys get the melanin book, when you read in here, they from the cadavers, they're taking the melanomas from the cadaver. These are Black people, so they'll take the melanoma off the Black person and who's dead, and then it's a lot of melanin in there because, or a lot of melanin in there because the person was highly melanated, and so they'll use that in their experiments, as well as producing synthetic melanin. Right?
Yeah, I read one time that the difference between like a peach and a nectarine is that the nectarine is like a recessive, and that's why it doesn't have like the fuzz or whatnot of a peach. But virtually, other than that, it's like the same.
Right.
Exact. Yeah.
No, you're right. So let me get to another one, because I had so much in here that I needed to tell y'all, and then I skipped all of it because we had to get to those videos. We still got some other videos to get to, but we have to break this down first because we're going to get into also what makes up melanin, and that's going to be carbon. So we're going to get into some videos breaking down carbon, because you need to understand why ancient Egypt was called Kemet. It's very important to understand why it was called Kemet. All right, so let's move on down the line. So birds. All right, so this right here, very, very important. So I think it's from right. Now read, all of this is important. This whole section where it says hot skin is very important. But you guys want to read that on your own? Well, let's read that. So let's go all the way down. So the pigment of the skin, like all the Black bodies, reflect only a small part of incident light. That's like light that's around. You got coherent light that beams directly on you, and then incident light that's just light that's around that doesn't reflect quite on you, which is therefore mainly transformed into heat. In a significant experiment, one dyes a white melon seed black and plants it next to a white seed. The colored seed germinates first. Now these were both white seeds, but they painted one black. and it receives more energy to germinate first, right? So the strongly pigmented skins are hotter. The strongly pigmented skins are hotter, maintaining the absorbed heat longer and having a more difficult hydric exchange than white skins. The quantity of melanin can also influence the production of vitamin D, right? These qualities of melanin are the basis of the hypothesis put forward, also if not completely shared, that the whites may be descended from blacks, or that whites may descend from blacks. In prehistoric times, the large masses of Negroes coming from Africa passed the 40th parallel and settled in Europe. Here they found very different conditions of life, of life for light, humidity, and temperature. On the one hand, the European sun, poor in ultraviolet rays, and on the other hand, the reduced possibility of these to penetrate some of the less pigmented parts of the body, like the insides of the palm of the hand and the sole of the feet. The generations born in Europe soon found themselves at a disadvantage, while cases of rickets became ever more frequent because of the relationship of light/melanin, of light melanin, right? They're losing it. Since the only hope of survival was to process the excess melanin, a process started at a genetic level whereby the synthesis of the granules of melanin was blocked or reduced. This led to a gradual lightening of the skin until the almost total disappearance of the color black. The situation in which blacks of America coming from Africa only recently find themselves is, let me read that again. The situation in which blacks of America coming from Africa only recently find themselves is different, and therefore are different factors which have brought their problems to surface. Even though it is true that the violent and disorganized character and sudden, I think it was suddenty of revolts, because a lot of times, and I'm gonna say this, when you're reading through this, a lot of these dudes aren't big on spelling, so you'll find a lot of misspellings when you're reading this, so don't be discouraged by that. So, and a lot of terminology is taken out because you have different scientists from around the world who speak different languages coming together. So when this is translated, it may be translated in a different way. So I'm just going to read that part again. So the situation in which blacks of America coming from Africa only recently find themselves is different, and there are different factors which have brought their problem to the surface. Even though it is true that the violent and disorganized character and sudden of revolts of American blacks against the whites may be due to the electrical and sound conductivity of the pigment cell.
Mm.
So this is written back in the 60s. This is when the civil rights movement was popping, right? So now with that in mind, let's read that one more time. Civil rights, think civil rights. So the situation in which the blacks of America coming from Africa only recently find themselves is different, and therefore are different factors which have brought their problem to the surface. Even though it is true that the violent and disorganized character and sudden of the revolts of American blacks against the whites may be due to the electrical and sound conductivity of the pigment cell. Meaning these dudes are conducting. They're on some heightened conductive shit right now, which is why they're revolting. Like their melanin is in overdrive. That's basically what this is saying. Their melanin is kicked up into overdrive, and this is why they're off the chain right now. They're studying this. So they're watching what's going on in America, and then the scientists go into the lab and say, these dudes are tripping out. Their melanin is going out of control. Now, only a very few elite people will be able to see this, because a lot of people wouldn't even understand it in the first place. But most people aren't reading this research. But you probably have people at the very top levels who this research is being transmitted to, because they fund the research. A lot of the grants and all this stuff to fund this melanin research come from private grants and stuff like that. So they get the information back, and so they understand, like, these motherfuckers are off the chain. Like, oh my God, like, are you serious? Like, so, you know, they had the historical portrayal of how we were gods from ourselves. We were like, yeah, dude, we're off the chain. This is from ourselves. This is when you see the pyramids and all that. We were basically like, yeah, dude, we're off the chain. As, you know, as humans, but also just, you know, as melanated beings, we sick with it. So they're like, okay, they need to figure out this is how Caucasians do. They discover by breaking things down, by dissecting things. You know, we understand things by synthesis, by how things are created. We can look at something and look at something else and see the similarity, the symmetry in those things and within ourselves. That's what as above, so below meant. Like, with, you know, nature, you are a hologram of nature. So if you understand how nature works, or if you understand how yourself works, you understand vice versa. So they're not like that. They're not connected like that because of the loss of melanin. You understand, melanin, and we're going to get into it deeper. Melanin attracts all these different vibrations. So if you got all living things around you giving off electromagnetic fields, giving off frequencies and things of that nature, and you have less melanin, that means you're not going to be able to pick up on all these frequencies that are moving around you. Okay, that's why you're disconnected. You know, that's why Caucasian people have to come up around, you know, melanated people in order for them to be, you know, a little more connected, have a little more flavor, have a little more rhythm. You know what I'm saying? But if they don't, they're highly disconnected. You know, that's why they talk, hey, how are you? And, you know, oh my God, and, you know, you know, it's it's a very deep disconnection from, you know, like I was at I used to work for LA Fitness, and I used to open the gym at 4 a.m. And so for a couple of people who were regulars, I would let them in early. So it was this one doctor who used to come in. He was an older cat, maybe like late 60s, 70s. And he was a psychiatrist, and he was a cool cat. You know, really nice guy, but highly Caucasian. I mean, I think he was like Jewish, but he was highly on the Caucasian side. And so one day, so I used to turn the music on. I used to have the hip hop channel on. So when I used to run the gym, people loved coming to the gym because I would have hip hop on. It'd be like a party in me. So in the morning, I had the hip hop channel on, and it was a groove on. I was just dancing I was just doing a little shake to the beat, and he was standing by just watching me, just literally studying what I was doing. It was just literally, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just grooving. I was just doing a little shake. And he was like, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "What?" He was like, "How you moving with the beat like that?" He's like, "You're just." I'm like, "You mean this?" And I just started doing it. And he tried to do it, and he could not get it to save his life. It was a terrorist there that was going to threaten to cut his head off. If he didn't get that rhythm, he would have been dead, motherfucker. He did not get it to save his life. And so I'm like, he just can't receive the vibration. He doesn't receive it.
I got a question for you, Kev.
Uh-huh.
It might be a foolish one, but I gotta ask it. You know how you were just saying a second ago, as above, so below, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you also were saying that everything that we do, what we have is that kind of a mimic of nature. Is it that when you were just reading and you said that the albino of all kingdoms is kind of like gets killed off?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what nature's doing, like as a larger cell, like killing off like the white people, kind of, because they're like a cell, if you had like a disease in your body.
You gotta say a virus?
Yeah, man, I didn't, you know, but
you didn't want to say that, but you wanted to say.
Right, man.
Well, they're only a virus. They're only a virus because we didn't teach them how not to be. Okay. So again, as if they're your children only runs amok because you don't teach them how to not run amok. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's literally your child see and do. So as the, you know, as the fathers and mothers of the earth, once they came, unlike, you know, in the animal kingdom, which would just kill them off and just be done with it, we didn't do that. However, we didn't do the other thing, which was teach them, because we were like, what the fuck is that? Like, how did the old girl say it in Wakanda? What are those? So, so you can basically picture when the albino was born, he was like, what the fuck is that? And so instead of embracing and, you know, and teaching the, and understanding, it's just a mutation of you, just like in everything else in nature. That's why nothing in nature is the same. Everything are mutations. You know, everything is a mutation. So, you know, just only in the animal kingdom do they kill it off, because an animal is of a lower mental state. It's about, you know, it's about survival. So if they see something like that, they may view it as a threat, and that's why they kill it off. Whereas, you know, in the plant world, plants are intelligent. You know, if it mutates, it's supposed to be that way. It's you know, it's years and years of, you know, evolve, and it breaks down, and this is what happens. You know, it changes throughout time, which is why you got, you know, different colored eyes. You know, like blue eyes are 10,000 years old, 6 to 10,000 years old. So, you know what I'm saying, eventually things change over time, but that's what the universe does. It moves, it changes. That's what it's supposed to do. It's not supposed to stay the same. It's always supposed to move and change. So in that aspect, for us, we didn't teach the albino children how to live with nature. We shunned them and like, look, nigga, figure it out. And so then they had to roll and go up into cold climates where, again, you know, it's not conducive to live with nature because it's all cold. So you can't plant things. You can't live with nature like that. You're killing meat for the fur. You're killing meat for the food. You know, a lot of them, you know, some of them would drink blood. You know, it's, you know, for the hydration. Like the Mongols would drink the blood of their horses and eat the meat. You know, so it would sustain them instead of having to go out and look for water and food all the time. So
yeah, I think I seen that on that the Islam of Faith when it got to the third one on the Ottoman.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And it was kind of, and it went over that they were like on some savageness, man, and they were kind of doing that, man. Like the Mongols was trill with it though, man.
Right, but you understand that's still all of that is still our descendants, and none of it gets away from being our descendants. As I'm rolling through these, I want you to take a look at these chemical structures, because once we get on carbon, you're going to see some things. So just keep these chemical structures in mind, right? Anytime, so you should learn your elemental tables, your periodic table. So again, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, carbon. Okay, C means carbon. So you ever see that chain? So this is now what this is called is a chain, right? This is a carbon chain. Carbon link.
Blockchain.
Boom, you already see what I mean. You already see what's going down. Wait till we get in that. So yes, carbon chain, again, anything that you see in technology is just mimicked off of nature, off of life, off the body. Just as you guys watched that Dr. Layla Africa video, he says that. He says anything you see in technology is just basically mimicked off nature, which again, so blockchain, again, is the carbon chain. We're going to see why that's so important, you know, in a minute. But there's another one that I needed to, so we wanted to get deeper into. So while I'm looking for this page, you got any other questions? Anybody had any other questions about last week?
Kevin, I wasn't here last week. This is Shlomo in Bermuda.
What's up, brother?
Bermuda
in the house. What up?
Listen, this must be what Percy Julian understood, and this is why he excelled when he was working with Glidden, with all those formulas. He understood melanin,
right?
Instead of the chlorophyll and all that stuff that was in the plants as they depict.
Yes.
He understood melanin.
Melanin is 1,000 times more powerful than chlorophyll.
Yes.
Just so you know. And so what you do is you think of how powerful chlorophyll is. I mean, literally, look at what chlorophyll does, what it does for plants. And then you say, shit, I'm walking around with this shit on my body, and it's 1,000 times more powerful than what's in a plant.
Amazing. Amazing.
And look at the life that plants give you. You live off of plants.
Yes.
It's like that suit you were mentioning, Kevin, with the spawn, wasn't it? Like where you said it.
Spawn. Right. So yeah, if you know your comics, Spawn, which they made into a demon, which is some Spawn had this black or had this melanated, I said melanated, but he had the black suit that the devil gave him, and to be his, he was the head of the army of Satan. And he sent him back to do all whatever his bidding or whatever. But his suit, his melanated suit, could do anything. All he would have to do was think it. It was connected to his thought. So no matter what, and his suit was only limited by his thought. And sometimes it wouldn't even think. He didn't have to think. The suit thought on its own. Like if it needed to protect him, the suit would just do it. And so that's how melanin does. So like just a quick one. How melanin, when you're receiving sunlight from on your body, and your ultraviolet rays are beaming down, melanin is so smart. Part of the melanin particles or the melanocytes will go to the part of the body that's receiving the most UV rays and conjoin there like a shield, literally like a vibranium shield, like Captain America. It'll go there and it'll be a concentration of melanocytes in that area, blocking it out. Boom. So it's doing that on its own. You're not doing that. It's melanin is thinking on its own. Like, yo, I got this. Don't even worry about it. So just understand who you are. So let me hear this more.
Hey, Kev. You was talking about, they call it a demon. I was saying, well, genius pretty much.
Said yes. Exactly. Yes.
Or I could say, against, was against the other side that, so that's Satan.
Exactly. So demon, you understand what demon means. When you start breaking down these words, Satan, demon, you start
slanderer,
fucking motherfucker who talk shit. That's all. So they make these words. They put these super negative and disagreeable connotations on words in order to drive you away from them. Oh, that's terrible. You don't want to be that.
You're a wicked man.
Hmm?
I'm about to say you're a wicked man right now.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So let me find it. So we went through this last week. This is the pyramid. So this again. So when you look, if you guys ordered the book, if you ordered the book from me, these are the files. These are the digital files that they come like. So if you go like there, it's much more readable form. So when you're looking at the pyramid again, we showed that where it said in men, so right above this, in men with red hair, in men with red hair, the skin is no longer protected from solar radiation, in that it is not able to synthesize melanin. And it is presumable, also taking into account the genetic pressure of other races, meaning melanin, people with melanin, much more populous and having melanocytes that pheomelanins, the melanin that creates Caucasian people, will no longer be present in man, in melanated man. That's what should go right there in the middle of that. In Caucasian man will no longer be present in Caucasian man in the distant future. Another distinction between man and and animals may be thus in the field of biochromes, and man, or melanated man, and melanated man can be placed alone at the apex of the pyramid. So again, this is them going through our stuff and saying, hey fellas, we're dying out. What do we need to do? You don't think they're going through this. This is the genetic. This is an existential crisis for them. It's an existential problem for them. Like, nigga, they're going out of existence. So how do we stop this? This is why they're studying this. How do we stop ourselves from going out of existence? So first they have to uncover the problem, which they say, okay, we're dying out because of this melanin. We don't have it. These motherfuckers have it. And at the end of the day, they're gonna be here when we're gone. So how do we do this? We need to tie into the vine. And that's
I met a white guy that actually admitted this to me. He was a younger cat, and he was real drunk when we were talking. And he was like, my parents keep wanting me to have kids because they keep saying that we're going to die off as a race. And he just told the truth, man. Like, he was like,
whoa, say what?
They're aware of it. Like, they want you to breed. He was even telling me that I think one of the countries pay them to procreate. Like, almost you get like a bonus or an incentive. Like, one of the countries, I think it's like Russia or something, that if you'll procreate, they'll give you like an extra incentive or something to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, crazy. Because it's like you said, they're well aware of it. They just don't want to just let the cat out the bag, but they're well aware of that there's an issue.
Oh yeah, yes, they absolutely know. Hold on.
Well, you got to think about it when it comes to, I don't know if people ain't noticing or not, but if you look at the rampant of, you watch television and stuff, you see all these relationships where there's like a dark skinned person with
Yep.
and you see it all the time. It's like the whole royal family. And a lot of people don't know that also, if you look at Asia, they have the biggest population, right? But the population is old and they have too many males because due to the fact that they went through that whole process when they're like, you only have one child, everybody kept their son. So the youngest, I don't know if everybody noticed, the youngest population right now is in Africa. It's the youngest population as we speak. So if the youngest population is all these dark people, that's not a good thing. That's why these countries are kind of like, give it a sense.
Yep. Yep.
And on top of that, they don't want. Yeah. If you look at it, if you look at the whole abortion, that's why if you look in all the so-called urban neighborhoods, they don't mind that. But if you see how watch Fox or anything, they're like, we can't have this. This is against God and all this stuff. We're really killing each other.
So again, you're right. So they know their whole thing is about trying to, again, they understand that they're dying out. They're like, oh shit, we're actually probably not supposed to be here because everything on the planet has melanin and we don't. So how do we stave off extinction? So we have to combine everything here. If everything on this planet needs melanin to live, we have to tie into it. So they're figuring out different ways of how to create synthetic melanin. Part of it is tying into the vine, because in that aspect as well, they can't still allow us to grow and become the more populous people, right? So they have to figure out there's a plan that they have to try to figure out, like, how do we become, how do we stave off extinction while still not letting the old gods become the new gods again, or become the gods that they're supposed to be again. So it's a very balanced problem for them, or it's a very not balanced, but hard equation for them to try to balance out. And they're trying to do it. They're trying to figure out, we got to poison some of them, we got to bring some of them into the fold. We got to do this and that. They can never let us die out. They can never let us the idea of us being great, they can never let that go on. Like if you see right now with what happened with Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, that was some bullshit, man.
But that's only because when a Caucasian person gets down, they got to put a black person there as well. So Harvey Weinstein fell, they got to put even though whatever all Morgan Freeman was doing was just flirting.
Right.
All he was doing was just the old nigga flirting. That's it. And so how it happened, some Caucasian some Caucasian reporter, they were giving an interview, and I think it was on screen, and she was pregnant at the time, and so she was cute, and Morgan Freeman had said, "Yo, I wish I was there." And so she took it and, oh man, I was just such disrespectful. I was pregnant at the time. And so she started a 6-month investigation on people on Morgan Freeman because of that, because he gave her, basically that was a compliment. Like, how did he know your ass is pregnant? You sitting there giving him an interview. He just basically gave you a compliment, like, oh, I wish I was there. He's just an old man flirting. So she starts an investigation, supposedly. And then it leads to all these people who saying that none of them can really say that he did anything. All it was, oh, he would make comments, or, he would say, wow, you look great, and twirl women around. This nigga's a flirt. This nigga just a flirt. But he didn't push the line though. And if you don't, if you don't like it, then you have to tell him. Like, look, then it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem after you tell him, yo, you crossing the line, then it's harassment. But if you don't say if you don't tell him that it's a problem from the beginning, how does he know that you don't like?
It sounds like what you're saying already, Kev, that it's kind of an orchestrated, balanced game where they have to
it's an orchestrated, balanced game. Again, so that's what I'm saying. They can't leave our great ones. See, a lot of people view Morgan Freeman as God because he's played God so many times in different movies that even when you hear his voice, they be like, oh, you have the voice of God. And so they, they understand that. And so they can't let Morgan, and plus Morgan Freeman is highly knowledgeable. He said, don't call me black. He said this 30 years ago. He said, don't call me black. He said, well, what is the problem with the black? He's like, because you call yourself black. He said, you're not white, I'm not black. He said, stop doing that. He said, I'm human, you human. So he was on some shit a long time ago. He understood. Plus his name is Morgan Freeman.
Man.
Morgan Freeman.
Right.
He's on an electric company, right?
Yeah, they know who he is. And he played the MOOR in the Kevin Costner movie. The Kevin Costner movie, Robin Hood,
Prince of Thieves.
And so he understood. He knew who he was. He gave an interview after he did that movie, and that's when all that information started coming out about how he wasn't black and he was breaking that shit down. So yeah, let's take Morgan Freeman out the game. We need a figure who we can destroy. Oh, who can we take down right now? Morgan Freeman. He's one. We can take him down. They're waiting to take LeBron down.
Hey, but
they're gonna take that motherfucker down hard. He gonna go
they gotta get him, yeah.
Oh, he gonna go down hard. Because that motherfucker's on steroids and they covering her up in order for them to break it down eventually later. So, that's the hard fall he gonna take. But you know what I'm saying? So let's get back into the melanin breakdown. So it says, I think we did part of this last week, but I'm going back over it because we're really getting into why you are God. You need to understand this. So the natural melanins have been attributed, different properties and functions, like filters of radiation in the skin and eye. So let me read that over. So the natural melanins have been attributed different properties and functions, like the filters of radiation in the skin and the eye. Mimetic function, antimicrobic function. Remember, any microbes. So what is a microbe? That's a pathogen that basically invades your body. Antimicrobic, like nigga, it kills it off. Disintoxicantifers means it detoxifies your body. Not only kills invading microbes and different organisms that invade your body, but also in toxins that you put in your body. It binds them so that it doesn't do too much damage to the body. Protection from noise in the ear, fixers of free radicals, eliminators of oxygenated water, ionic exchange resins with a particular importance in the skin and in the choroid, in hair, in soils, and finally the function of redox and semiconductors with a charge transfer effect at physiological electrical potentials. So, meaning your melanin, in that last part, I'm just breaking down this last part, meaning your melanin is just sitting there with the potential to conduct electricity. It's just sitting there. You're like, nigga, do something. It's literally like sitting there like, what you want to do? What you want to do? Want me to do something? You want me to do something? And when it does get activated, it's usually when we're in this, and I'm talking in this day in life, it's usually when we're in some type of heightened physical activity, like sports. This is when you see our melanin get really turned on, and that's why, you can have a no-look pass, because you're not looking, because your melanin is connected. I don't have to look at you. We're on the same frequency. I don't, that's why I can be trailing. Like if you go, and a lot of people have done this, but Gary Payton was the first one I seen do this. So Gary Payton, basketball, the Seattle Supersonics. There were two guys, Gary Payton
and Sean Kemp, man.
So
Yeah.
Gary Payton and Sean Kemp on the fast break is one of the greatest things you ever seen in history.
True story, man.
It was art. So Gary Payton would travel down the court and he would just throw the ball up and turn away from the rim. Like he didn't even see Sean Kemp. He just knew he was there. he would just travel down the court, like fast break down the court, throw the ball in the air and cut away from the basket. And Sean Kemp would come out of nowhere, grab it, and boom! Just like, how the hell did he know he was there? Melanin reacting. Again, you know what I'm saying? Same frequency. So they understood this. They understood this stuff. So let's keep it going. So on down. So let me get down to this part. The color of the melanins has always been a puzzle for chemistry. In fact, for a black substance which absorbs all the wavelengths, not light, all wavelengths. That means sound, vibration, light, for anything that has a wavelength, which is everything. You absorb that shit. So, in fact, for a black substance which absorbs all the wavelengths, it is necessary to imagine having an electrical conductor. Like the only way to imagine how conductive melanin is, you got to imagine another electrical conductor, like metallic dust or amorphous carbon, meaning like coal, like broken down coal or something like that. So amorphous means without form, meaning you can form it into anything you want. So coal is a great conductor of electricity, right? So it's saying that in order to imagine what melanin can do, you need to imagine that. It does the same thing as metallic dust or fucking coal. It's the same electrical conductivity. Or a complex mixture of different chromophores. And you don't need to read that part. That part down there is not important. So let's keep it going. So this is called we're gonna move into something called the ESR, if I can find it. Did I pass it? Hold on. Damn, this is oh, here it is. Okay. So this is ESR, which is electron spin resonance, right? So a lot of this is, you're going to have to look up on your own and slow it down if you really want to understand what that means. It's, you get into the science of it, which we all should do. We all should be doing this. Like, dude, there should be sects of us devoted to this. There should be sects of us devoted to technology. We should be sectioned off like that. That's what an organization is. Okay, you take on melanin science. You take on this. You take on that. So if you guys really want to get into this, I suggest please, if you do get into it, and really are starting to break it down, hit me up because I'll join that with you guys. But
which one are we at, Kevin? The ESR?
Yeah, ESR right here. So where is it? So in there it says the para. So right in here, oh, here it is. The paramagnetism of the melanins is explained by Longal Higgins. I just want you to see that part right there. You see what this is? The paramagnetism. What does para mean? Does anyone know what para means?
Offhand, I do not. But
If I was going to say you were going to take
a paragraph or a paramilitary, like I've heard, I kind of.
Para means many.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of had a concept. I just didn't have the literal.
Yes. So para means many. So this says the paramagnetism of melanins, meaning it's magnetic in many ways, in many different ways, right? Which is hilarious. So
it kind of sounds like melanin pretty much is like the foundation of all.
Wait,
life.
Don't,
at some point.
We're not even there yet. Hold on, partner. You jumping shit. Hold on. You're getting ahead of yourself. Hold on. So now,
like dark matter.
Huh? Oh yeah.
If you think about a dark matter.
Uh-oh. Did I lose it? Wait a minute. X-rays, electron spin. Oh, here it is, right here. Bam. Watch this. Electrical characteristics. All black material are electroactive. You see that? All black material are electroactive. Electroactive, meaning it acts like electric. You know what I mean? It conducts electricity.
Kind of like what Dr. Sebi was saying in a nutshell, right? Like,
right.
Alkaline.
Alkaline.
Yeah.
That's exactly what alkaline means. So all black materials are electroactive. Conductivity is strongly increased by doping, meaning if you do something to it, right? Meaning, so if you add, for us, that would be, doping could be anything. Meditation, supplements, hydration, all of these things increases the conductivity of your melanin. So these are the doping only means to do something to it. This means to.
So it don't even have to be tangible. Meditation would be.
Yeah.
Man.
Your melanin. First of all, your skin is the biggest organ you have, and so if your outer skin is one giant radio, your thoughts are electrical signals and waves throughout the air. So how could you not connect to your melanin and increase its conductivity? That's what we always used to do. That's what meditation was for. But we used to get gangster with it and get, and do the supplements and eat right and had we would eat things with magnesium, like, sunflower seeds and almonds and all these different things that increased our magnetic conductivity. So conductivity is increased by doping. Electrical and sound conductivity show by melanins, and that should be shown by melanins, are of biological interest. Superconductivity may be present. Did y'all hear what that meant? No, well, you hear what it said. I'm gonna explain what it means in a minute. But superconductivity may be present. Both the natural and the synthetic melanins behave as amorphous semiconductors with threshold switching. So remember, threshold switching means it just goes on and off. And so it's saying that natural melanin in the skin and the synthetic melanins that they make up both can be turned on and off by doing whatever, by doping. We're just adding electricity to it, and that for synthetic melanin, it's going to be literally with a chemical or electricity. That's how they're going to dope it up. But for us, that means in so many different ways. We can, 50 million ways we can do that. So superconductivity. Do you know anyone knows the difference between superconductivity and semiconductivity? No?
I'll take a stab at it. Semi means half. Okay. And super sounds like it would be overdoing it, so to speak. That would be my guess. It's on a basic level.
Yeah, let's give a little physics lesson. So energy. So there's something called, you heard of Ohm's law? There's Ohm's law in physics, means resistance. It's It's about how energy travels through a medium, or electricity, in its sense, travels through a certain medium, right? So an ohm means the amount of resistance that that energy or electricity meets while it's traveling through its medium. Okay, so an ohm in physics represents resistance. Like it's, so like literally, so if you have a wire, because the wire is so thin, if energy is moving through that wire, it constricts the energy flow, right? Of the energy. So that's why the wire gets hot, because the wire, while it's moving through its medium, it's losing energy because it has to work so hard to move through the medium, right? So it's meeting resistance because of the very thin wire, the layers of the wire, as it's moving through, it's getting squeezed together. So it loses energy along the way until it gets to its whatever point it's traveling to. So that's semiconductivity, right? Meaning when energy travels from one point to another, it loses energy along the way. It loses some type of energy because it meets resistance. Superconductivity means that there's no loss of energy from point A to point B when it's traveling, right? And so going back to semiconductivity is finite. It'll have a certain amount of time that it can conduct. Eventually, because it's meeting such resistance, the power will run out eventually. Superconductivity, when it flows from point A to point B, it's lossless energy. And the way it does that is because both point A and point B are vibrating or resonating at the same frequency, the exact same frequency. So that means that the energy that flows between the two, there's no loss because we are literally in harmony. All right. So that's anything. That can be people, that can, that's animals, that's whatever, anything like that, that can be on that type of conductivity, meaning energy that flows between us harmonious. That's in relationships, that's everything, right? So there's semiconductivity. Are we meeting resistance? Are we arguing, or are we in a relationship where everything is pretty much harmonious? We flow effortlessly. That's what superconductivity is, right? To flow effortlessly. And that's what we have the ability to do. We have the ability to literally transmit energy between us at a lossless amount forever. Just so you understand, superconductivity has no limit. So if you do, you guys need to do, I have in my science, in the Reelnagas, in the playlist, in the science part, you go in there, I think I have some stuff on conductivity. If you see the experiments on conductivity, what you're going to see is the thing that's being superconductive. Usually for things to be superconductive, they have to lower the temperature, like super low. They have to lower it like 400 and something degrees below freezing in order for it to get a conductivity level. Whereas they're saying they're working on a room temperature superconductive medium. Melanin is already that. Melanin is a room temperature superconductive material. But they don't know how to extrapolate the energy out of it yet for themselves. Only we have the connection to it, right? They don't have it. So they have to perform these different experiments to try to create an artificial superconductor, which means you have to lower the goddamn temperature so low that the conductivity is produced.
I got a question for you, Kev. And I might just be overthinking it, but when you said ohms, like when you were speaking like almost in a radio active sense of ohms, is that the reason why when you're meditating you go ohm?
No, but that's
totally different.
No, the ohm in physics was named after the guy who created the science. His name was something ohm, I forgot. But and that's OHM. Now, there are no coincidences though in the universe. So the tone ohm, that's why I created a philosophy science called ohmology, which is the study of the flow of energy, the study of the science of flow of energy. So my science was both of those. I combined, it was the two philosophy. It was OHM and OM. So what you're talking about is the tone ohm, the vibration of ohm that flows throughout every living thing throughout the universe. That's a universal frequency, right? And so what is the frequency? It's energy. It's vibrating energy. So same thing. The tone ohm if you're able to reach that frequency, is the superconductivity throughout nature. So if you're able to make your body vibrate on that tone, that's when you'll be super connected to everything that is, which is why that it's revered so much. Now, I did that one time when I went to Sedona, and we went to Sedona with a group of 10 people. We got into this cave where the acoustics were bouncing off. I think I mentioned this before, but the acoustics were bouncing off so ill, like it was crazy, the vibration of frequency that was in there. So we got in a circle, we held hands, we did Om, but we did it in a lossless cycle. So one person would Om, as he died out, the next person would pick up the Om. So none of the vibration died out. Eventually, it all got to the point where we all hit the same frequency Om at the exact same time. When that happened, we all ceased to exist as individuals. It's one of the hardest things to explain, but probably the greatest experience I've had in my life. There was nothing, the only way I can explain it was, we were like, it was, the only thing I can say, we were in space and there was nothing but darkness, blackness around us, but the frequency, and it felt incredible. It felt like God. It was literally, it was like almost a sunken place, but not the sunken place. We were everywhere at once. And we felt nothing but this tone, this frequency of Om. And it was so ill that when we came out of it, no one said anything. We were all quiet when it died out. And then somebody in the group, because it was like 10 of us in the circle. So somebody in the group said, "Did y'all feel that?" And then somebody's like, "God damn, that shit was crazy." And everybody's like, "Oh my God." We all fell to the knees. We all fell to our knees like, "Oh my God, that was insane." Everybody felt it. It was the greatest feeling ever had in my life. But again, so that's what you're working with. Again, so we're all in there. We're all vibrating on that tone. Melanin picking it all up, and literally, we all transported. We literally all transported. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
So let me break down some more of this. And the questions while I'm flipping through these. So that's the last part of this book. I think I'm gonna show today, and we'll get more into it in the next one, because I want to get into these videos on carbon. Yeah, that's about it.
Hey Kev, I just ordered my book, by the way.
I saw. Oh yeah, I saw you come. Okay, cool. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Oops. No. Oh no. All right, so let's get into some of these videos. So I got 3 videos on carbon to show you guys.
Professor Dave, let's talk about.
And really watch, what I really want you guys to look for is the amount of electrons that we're dealing with, and something called the valence. It's going to be called the valence bonds, right? So valence, when you're studying, I implore all of you guys, and we'll get into it in the class as well, but so that you guys are more familiar with it before we go over it. But conductivity, we're gonna have to learn about that, because that's what we are. You have to, in order to understand how to use your power, you have to understand what it is. So we're going to get into conductivity. So your valence bond is the part of a layer on your skin, or a part of anything that's more conductive, right? So it's the electrons that's closer to the nucleus. The closer it is to the nucleus of the atom, the more conductivity it has. The farther away from the surface it is, the less conductivity it has, right? So I want you guys to pay attention to the conductivity, or the valence part of carbon.
Hey, it's Professor Dave. Let's talk about carbon.
He knows a lot about the science stuff. Professor Dave explains.
You may have heard that carbon is the element of life.
But what does that mean? What determines whether an atom is of carbon in the first place? An atom consists of positively charged protons, neutrons, which have no charge, and negatively charged electrons. An element is defined by the number of protons in the nucleus. 1 proton is hydrogen, 2 is helium, 3 lithium, 4 beryllium, 5 boron, and 6 is carbon. The number of neutrons and electrons can change, but by definition, any atom with 6 protons is a carbon atom. How do they form? Hydrogen, the simplest and most abundant of all elements, accumulates into clumps due to gravity, which becomes stars. The tremendous inward pressure triggers nuclear fusion, which is when protons and neutrons smash together and fuse. Many elements, including carbon and larger ones like iron, are made in stars. Much larger ones need the immense energy of a supernova explosion or particle accelerators here on Earth. So what's so special about carbon? Let's look at the electrons. Carbon atoms have 6. The first 2 are in the inner shell, and the other 4 are the so-called valence electrons in the outer shell. These are the ones available for bonding with other atoms, which happens when 2 atoms share 2 electrons. Because elements in this part of the periodic table want to have 8 electrons in their outermost shell, carbon has a tendency to make 4 bonds. These can be single, double, or triple bonds, and with many different elements. In addition, while an atom that's bound to 2 or 3 other atoms will adopt a linear or flat shape, a carbon atom that's bound to 4 other atoms will take on a 3-dimensional shape, because that's how the electron clouds on the 4 atoms can be as far away from each other as possible. So it's the ability of carbon to bond in a wide variety of shapes with so many elements, including itself, that makes it so special. Also, carbon-carbon bonds are strong enough to be stable, but not so strong that they can't break and rearrange, which makes them excellent building blocks. When by itself, carbon has many allotropes, or ways an element can be arranged. There's the graphite in your pencil, which consists of slippery sheets of carbon that rub off easily. There's diamond, the hardest substance known, and we can even make interesting structures like nanotubes and fullerenes. That's just carbon by itself. When combined with hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and a few other elements, it makes all the diverse structures in your body, including carbohydrates, proteins, and DNA. We can take nature a step further and synthesize novel materials with an array of purposes. Putting carbons in the empty spots of an iron lattice makes it stronger. We call this steel, which is used in most of the large structures we know today. Teflon, a carbon fluorine polymer, is a non-stick substance that's highly resistant to chemical degradation. And carbon-based synthetic drugs like inhibitors that can silence a faulty enzyme hold the prospect of curing so many diseases. That's a lot of reasons to love carbon. It really is the element of life. See you next time.
All right. So I want you to pay attention to the bonds. Remember, we talked about we went to the blockchain. So just pay attention. Keep a mind state out for that. Bonding, the bonding aspects. So I think I'm gonna get to this one first, and then I'll get to the more fun one. Actually, I'll do that one first because it's shorter, and then we'll get to that one.
Is that Einstein's cousin up there, man?
Oh, I know, right? So these little girls are so cute.
Hi, I'm Sophie. And I'm Alex. And we are the Science Kids. I'm alive, obviously. So am I. And so is every human being in the world. And every animal, plant, and more microorganisms, such as bacteria and viruses. But life at all would never exist if it weren't for the incredible, amazing, magical element, carbon. Carbon is found in all life. Life, as we know it, would not exist without carbon. In fact, carbon actually has an entire field about how important it is to life, organic chemistry. So why carbon? Why not another element like potassium or vanadium or lead or even adamantium? You've been watching too much Marvel movies, and adamantium is not an element. Aw, that's a bummer. Anyway, carbon is so good at making life since it has 4 valence or outer electrons. In order for nonmetals to be stable, they need to have 8. So carbon has to borrow 4 electrons. This means that carbon can bond to 4 atoms at a time. For example, methane is carbon with 4 hydrogens. Imagine this. A carbon atom bonds with another carbon atom. Now this 2-carbon structure can bond to 6 atoms. Wow! Now add another carbon. This 3-carbon structure can bond to 8 different atoms. Keep adding more carbons and you will get huge, complex molecules. And that is why all of these complex molecules in the human body are based on carbon. Nucleic acid, carbon-based, fats, carbon-based, amino acids, carbon-based, proteins, carbon-based. Every living thing is carbon-based. But there are other elements like carbon. For example, silicon, germanium, tin, and lead. All of them have 4 valence electrons. So why don't they work? Well, electrons are held in the atoms because they are attracted to the protons. If they are further from the protons, other electrons don't really want to come in. And the valence electrons of elements further down in the periodic table are farther from the protons. Atoms won't bond as well to silicon, germanium, tin, and lead as carbon for these reasons.
Wait, so does this mean that we could never, not even in outer space, find life made up of silicon instead of carbon?
No! In fact, people actually think that there is a shadow biosphere of silicon-based life on this planet, but we can't detect it.
Really? That's pretty awesome. Here on Earth?
Yeah, it's on Earth.
Okay, but it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I guess.
That's a bummer, but never say never, there's still a chance. Oh! It's Rocky. Oh,
You need
sorry.
a rock?
It's my pet silicon-based life.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Hi. Anyway,
We hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for our next few videos.
So, carbon, again, I love how they broke it down so a little simply and cutely. But if you were watching, and I don't know if you guys, you got the vibration. In this scenario where it was breaking down, let's see, where was it? Let's see, right there. I think it was right here.
It's 3.
Now, it says how carbons can bond to each other. So it only needs 3 carbon bonds to bond to how many? 3, 5, 7, so 8. So 3 carbon bonds can bond to 8 other different elements. In this equation, who are the carbon? If you were to extrapolate this and make these people.
The carbon would be you or anybody that's got the information to be able to tell others.
Megatron. What you sound like a transformer. What was that?
It's Brian. Can you hear? Do I sound better now?
Nope. You sound like Starscream.
Hey, you T-Paining right now, man. You T-Paining. Man.
Kev, you fool, man.
So if this were about people in the world, okay, the carbon would be who?
Man, woman, and child.
Dark skin.
And this would be who?
Melanated people.
Who would this be?
Caucasian.
Or anyone else in the world? Caucasians.
I got you. We're like the nucleus, really.
Yeah, there you go.
And everybody else is just a branch of
bond everything else together.
Like the sun does. The sun holds all the planets in orbit. You're right.
Nothing else can bond together unless it has carbon.
Okay, so with that being said, if we know about basically global genocide. If all black people were just, terminated, would the world just? All these other groups must die.
You're not going to terminate all black people. That's
okay.
That won't happen.
That's what he said at the beginning. They have to create a balance where they can't kill the nucleus, but they have to balance
If
it.
you kill all black people,
Okay,
you
I
kill all
got
white people, you kill all Caucasians. But you couldn't kill all black people though. That just wouldn't happen. Melanin will not die out. It is what the planet is made of.
It's like roaches. You can't kill them.
Yeah, you can't exactly. So
I've kind of known that. I just didn't know why. I talked to my wife about this. It's like for all these, literally centuries, they've been trying to destroy us, and they can't do it. They just can't do it.
And as we were getting, in that book, when we get deeper into part 2, we're still only in half of part 1 of that book, but it'll show you that your melanin needs to be hydrated in order for it to work. I talked about this, I think, in class 1. But your melanin, if it's not hydrated, it's at a low conductivity. So that's why they give you table salt and Kentucky Fried Chicken and liquor store and
soda.
Soda. And all the high fructose corn syrup and all the rest of the stuff that dehydrates your body, and that especially for Caucasian people, you see Caucasian people, they get cancer like a motherfucker, but they're really trying to kill niggas. Like, but they as much as they do that, and they try to pollute, it's still that much harder to kill melanated people. Like melanated people will still be you'll see a bum out on the street, you know what I'm saying? He'll be on the street for 20-something years, and nigga will be the most lively nigga. Hey, nigga be like 70, 80, 90 years old. We still out there just chilling. It's hard to kill niggas, and they understand that. And so, it's the saturation of poisons, because your melanin is constantly binding poisons and excreting it. So, but what happens is if you don't drink enough water, when your melanin binds it, it can't excrete. So unless you work out. So it's either water, it's working out, any way you get toxins out of your body, some type of way to excrete the toxin. So let's get on to the other one. This is another video. This is probably
Do I sound better now?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So this is probably the most important one. I like, as you call them, Einstein's Einstein's twin. But he actually breaks it down really nice though.
Carbon is a fantastically important element. There are probably far more molecules that contain carbon than any other element. The reason why you can get so many carbon compounds is that carbon atoms form chains very, very easily, sometimes millions of atoms long. If you just have atoms that will form 1 or 2 bonds, then you can't build up huge numbers of molecules. But if there's no limit to the number of bonds you can...
What color is that? It's not a color. That was a trick question, but you see.
It's dark.
Yeah, buddy.
You can make things that are really long. It's like the difference between a lorry, a truck, which can pull, if you're lucky, 1 trailer or perhaps 2, and a train where you can put as many wagons or carriages as you want. So you can go a really long train. So it's just the same with carbon.
So one thing, just to review and make this point clear. So one thing we see with carbon is that carbon has the amazing ability to link up with itself and others and other elements, right? The amazing ability to link with itself.
Link with each other then.
Again, that's more of an initiated thing. But there's so many of us throughout the world, throughout our history, we have done it. That's why we've ruled the world for forever.
I think that we still do in a context when you look at it, like when you mention basketball or you mention some things like even church, as funny as that sounds. But when we're on the same page, it's amazing though. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When we're on the same page, it's like, how the hell are they doing all this at the same time? Like,
look at Black Lives Matter. Like Black Lives Matter, even though it was funded by George Soros, it was just some angry black women. He was mad at their brothers and their fathers and being killed in the street without them being able to say it, and their sons and their children being killed in the street without having to say something. And so that was the energy from the mother, the melanin. She was feeling that, and so he got in the street and was like, "Look, man, y'all need to stop killing our motherfucking black men." That was the energy. That's the conductivity. that was flowing through. And then because of that emotion and that conductivity, you felt that shit. But everybody felt it and was like, hell yeah. And so, you know, it became, you know, you start transmuting that or transferring all that energy between, especially between melanated people. It became a movement that they didn't understand. They didn't even think they was going to be that big, which is why they had to co-opt it, was George Soros. They were like, shit, this is going to be out of control. So we need to take control of it. So George Soros get in there and offer these motherfuckers some money so that we can grab them by the balls. But, you know, it is, you see what happens when we get on that conductive state. If we only had guidance, you know, if we only had a goal and a plan, you know, for when we did organize like that, and it wasn't just some incoherent, emotional energy that we're just, you know, we're discharging. That it does nothing. It's activity without achievement. So they know that. They'll allow you to be active. That's why they say, you know, you're an activist. Nigga, but if your activity doesn't produce anything, who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? That was John Wooden's one of his greatest quotes. One of his greatest quotes was, you know, activity, activity without achievement is nothing. Right. You know what I mean? So that's what we do now. So we conduct, but we don't produce anything out of the conductivity. So let's get back into the carbon.
So carbon, it's around us everywhere. We're all carbon. There's lots of carbon in us, all the hydrocarbons within our body, lots of the structures inside us, and many of the materials that we use every day. In fact, a majority of us use carbon in the form of fuels every day to get to work or to go home.
Without carbon, we couldn't exist. You're carbon, I'm carbon. We have bones made out of calcium, but the important parts, our brains, contain largely carbon. They contain nitrogen and oxygen and hydrogen as well, but carbon's the key. Carbon is one of the very few elements that has given rise to a whole area of chemistry. Organic chemistry, the chemistry of carbon compounds, is almost a separate discipline from some other areas of chemistry. And most of the molecules that we use for plastics, for pharmaceutical products, for our food, are all carbon compounds.
Carbon's an extremely common element, but it comes in a number of different allotropes, so different forms. And this one here, this is actually some charcoal, which is just simple carbons, very, very similar and very, very in fashion to graphite.
You can find lumps of carbon lying around. This is a piece here that I found on the beach on the northeast of England. It's a piece of coal. It's not absolutely pure carbon, but it is a very high proportion of carbon. And compared to other stones of this sort of size, it's really quite light. More recently, people have discovered diamonds and, of course, graphite, which is the black material that you get in pencils. People call them lead pencils, but they actually contain a form of carbon called graphite.
So carbon comes as graphite, as diamond, and also as buckyballs or fullerenes. So the carbon here, which is a bit like the graphite, is very amorphous and it's very, very free-flowing. So we're going to pour a little bit of the carbon out onto the paper so that you can see. So you can see it's a very light powder, and you can see that it's a very, very nice, easily maneuverable and easily workable material.
The thing that's really exciting is that in the last 20 years...
See, that's what they call amorphous melanin or whatever they called it in there. So again, amorphous, meaning you can just form it into anything. It's just broken down so you can form it.
People have discovered new forms of carbon. Now, this is extraordinary. People have known of carbon for thousands of years, even longer. And suddenly, in the last 20 years, the number of different types of carbon has grown enormously. I have a colleague who's a specialist in these new forms of carbon, and I went and asked him for a model, and he gave me a whole suitcase of models. Let me show you. So, what have we got? First of all, this is a model of graphite, the materials that's in the middle of pencils. And It consists of layers of rings, of hexagonal rings of carbon atoms. That's 6 carbon atoms, and they're joined together in layers. Can you see here, there are these purple bonds in between them. You can see they're not very strong. One's even broken here. Very recently, in the last 10 years, it's been discovered that using a piece of sellotape, you can pull off these layers and make single sheets of these carbon atoms. It's called graphene. The 2010 Nobel Prize for Physics was given to 2 scientists for discovering graphene. There's this structure here, where each carbon atom is joined to 4 others in this sort of tetrahedral pattern. Tetrahedron is this group, 1 in the middle with 4 round it. And this is diamond. It's really very strong. Whichever way you squash it, it's strong. You can't peel off layers of diamond with a piece of sellotape. Diamonds are colorless, and to understand why, you have to understand what gives rise to color. And the color of anything, my tie, anything, are caused by electrons in the molecules or material, and they absorb energy and go from one level to another. In diamond, there are bonds between all the carbon atoms that use all the electrons. The electrons are very tightly bound, and none of them can change their energy state, so you get no absorption, at least in the visible region of the spectrum.
So, a diamond being colorless. I just want to get about diamonds and why they're so important. Well, the only reason they're so important today is because De Beers, they mine all the diamonds and they put most of them in vaults to hide them to increase the value of the ones that they put on the market. So they like run 80% of the diamond market. But why diamonds were so important in the past and why they still are important today in technology is because they're amplifiers of energy and electricity. So he's saying it doesn't absorb it, but it amplifies it like a crystal. It's the most perfect crystal. So like you get a crystal quartz and everybody walks around and they hold crystal, and because crystal is supposed to amplify your electromagnetic field, you meditate with a crystal, and then, you know, it helps your energy to flow and be out there more. So think of a diamond being the most perfect crystal. That's why diamonds were so important. These are the most perfect crystals, the most perfect amplifiers of energy. That's why they use them in computers and things like that, and lasers. You shine a light through a diamond, it amplifies the energy. You can cut with light, right? So diamonds are so important because the electrons are so tightly packed. It's super strong, and so it amplifies energy.
I got a quick question, Quiv.
Mm-hmm.
Along those lines, when we wore diamonds in jewelry, didn't we do it based on like the science of it, not so much as for fashion, or was it
both? And you were still pimps.
Yeah, we was flossing still.
Still flossing and pimping. So it was both. It was to show you. It was to show how dope I am. How dope of a pharaoh I am. Because again, the pottery nigga didn't have all that damn shit on. The nigga pottery and bread. Right. He wasn't rocking. He wasn't rocking the regular stuff. So again, the pharaoh being the enlightened god, it was a multi-fashion thing. He was showing you. It was all symbolic, as well as gold represented the sun. First of all, back in the day. So gold represented the sun, silver represented the moon. Diamonds were amplifiers of these energies. So, you know, especially different jewels had different vibrations and different properties they would use. So the science was always deeply embedded in it at first, but then don't get it twisted. When they was depicted on the when they were being depicted in the carvings and the hieroglyphics on the wall, and they rocking the jewelry, don't get it twisted. They was like, yeah, you get my good side, dog? You get I'm blinging? Oh, yeah, here you go. So, yeah, it was always like that. We always been, you know, flossing.
But was it a higher conscious bling?
Absolutely, man. I mean, again, because you were wearing it to represent the science of nature, and you know that's what it meant at first. But like I said, don't get it twisted. Don't think it was a couple of it wasn't a couple of super flies out there. A couple of golden backs. Like,
it's like Nefertiti is watching. Why me put
yeah,
this
you know what
on?
I'm saying? Like, hey, nigga, Nefertiti gonna see this later, nigga. You better get him on this side, nigga. Like, man, I gotta go to Nefertiti crib later, nigga. Maybe, you know, she might give me some later, nigga. Like, make sure this shit is blinging. So, you know, that's you know, we've always been the same.
On the other hand, with graphite, the electrons are less strongly bound. In fact, it conducts electricity. And it's black because the electrons will absorb all wavelengths of visible light, right from the blue to the red, so that it looks black because none of the light is reflected from it. Inside here, we have the famous molecule C60, like a football, 60 carbon atoms. Andre has put...
Really quick, you guys should look for this online, the supplement C60, and take it. It's a filter. It's a filter for toxins in your body. Anybody ever heard of activated charcoal?
Yes, I took that one time, man. It cleans you out, man.
It's what they give you when you go to the when you overdose on alcohol and they rush you to the hospital. They pump you full of charcoal because it absorbs all the toxins in your body and takes it out of your organs and stuff like that. So C60, what he's talking about right there, is like 60 carbon atoms or something like that. It's crazy. They call buckyball. So they created it. And it works for your car. So if you look up something called buckyballs, they'll put that in your car and it'll filter out your engine. Like it'll literally filter out all the toxins and shit in your engine. But there's something called C60 for your body. And you take this and it'll filter out all the toxins. It's like activated charcoal on steroids. So, man, you know, all you do is you'll take this and it'll excrete the toxins out of your body. It works like crazy. Because I had a staph infection a while ago, a couple years ago, on my leg, and it was funny. I got to the Zoe show, and this dude who we had on the show just for promotion, he was just there for the promotion that day, and he had it. and so he's like, because I told him I came from the doctor. He's like, you would try this C60 and carbon? I was like, yeah, I know about activated charcoal, but not about C60. So he gave me a little vial of it, and dude, that shit healed me in a fucking couple days. That shit, boom, that shit was insane. It was crazy. So just on a side note, as a supplement, C60 works like crazy.
Little one inside here, but forget that for a moment. So you can have this molecule, C60, first discovered in the late 1980s and only isolated in the early 1990s. And there is a very similar molecule which looks a bit more squashed, which is C70. Now, these are also colored, but their color is rather different. Have a look here. I've got two samples, one of C60 and one of C70, both of them dissolved up in the solvent, toluene. So if you look here, C70 is a sort of reddish brown color, and C60 in this solvent has a beautiful color. I call it purple, other people call it magenta. Back to the box, and in here we have the final form of carbon, which are called nanotubes. These are whole tubes made up of hexagons. You have two sorts, one which is closed at the end, and this one here, which is open, rather like a basket. You can put things inside it. The final model is graphene, this material that you can peel off graphite with sellotape, sticky tape. And the reason that people get so excited is, first of all, this is a very thin material. It's only 1 atom thick. And you can react the carbon atoms on here with all sorts of different molecules. You can make very strong materials. You can start making electronics, carbon computers, things like that.
What did he say?
Many people.
Carbon computers.
Believe that graphene is one of the materials of the future. This is one of Andre's exhibits. He uses it in exhibitions to measure electrical conductivity. You see, if you take a piece of metal like this coin and you put the two electrodes on there, you can see it conducts electricity. All the lights light up and the needle goes across. So he's got different samples. This one here is coal and this is graphite. So there's a track of, this is a photo, and this is a track of coal between two metal electrodes. And you can see if we put the electrodes on here, the coal doesn't conduct electricity at all. However, if we take the graphite and do the same, it conducts electricity, not very well, but you can see you do get some electricity going through. On his other sheet, he's got a sample of C60 and here of the carbon nanotubes. And you can see the C60 doesn't conduct electricity either. The electrons can't jump between one molecule and the other. But when you come to the carbon nanotubes, which are long, long molecules, they conduct electricity really well. Not quite as well as a metal, but pretty close. Carbon is a fantastically important.
So that's carbon. So now, why were we studying carbon? What is the supposed color of carbon?
Black.
I would say dark.
There you go. So I want y'all to see this really quick because then this actually leads to something. I mean, this actually has, it's very important. Just the very first couple minutes of it.
You're probably already familiar with some forms of carbon. For example, this graphite right over here. This is one form carbon takes, very important when you're writing with a pencil. Otherwise, you wouldn't see any writing if you just have the graphite get scraping onto your paper. And your paper is also, it's not pure carbon, but it has a lot of carbon in it. This right over here is a raw diamond, another form that carbon can take under intense time, after a long period of time under intense pressure. But what you may or may...
And I just want to say this, diamonds are spiritual. Do you know how a diamond is made? An actual diamond? Today they can make artificial diamonds, but you know, anyone knows how an actual diamond is made?
Got to do with volcanoes?
Pressure?
Right. Okay. So both. You're both correct. There's the elements. So it's formed in the mantle of the earth, down in the earth where the pressure is so hardcore that it takes anywhere from 1 billion to 3 billion years to produce a diamond. Then once that happens, a volcano, and it only gets pushed to, you only see this on the surface because of volcanoes. A volcano will take the diamond, the coal from the bottom, the magma that's down at the bottom, and through the lava come up and push it out, and that's how you get diamonds. So after billions of years of being produced within the womb of the earth, the diamond comes out. A diamond comes out of the pyramid, the fire in the middle, and that's what's produced. The most perfect conductor of energy is a diamond.
Wow, that's nuts, man. And it still goes back to the
not conductor, but amplifier. Sorry, amplifier.
Realize is that carbon is actually essential for life. In fact, life as we know it is carbon-based. So carbon-based life. When we look for signs of life, or at least life as we know it on other planets, we're looking for signs of carbon-based life. And there might be other forms, other elements that form the backbone of life, but carbon is the only one that we have been able to observe. Now, why is carbon so valuable for life? Why does it form the backbone of the molecules that make life possible? Well, it all comes down to where it sits in the periodic table and its atomic number and how it tends to bond with things. So this is why chemistry is important. So carbon we see over here has an atomic number of 6, which by definition means it has 6 protons. So if I were to draw its nucleus, it would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 protons. And the most common isotope of carbon on Earth is carbon-12, which also has 6 neutrons. So let me draw that in this nucleus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 neutrons. And then neutral carbon is going to have 6 electrons. And so 2 of them are going to be in their innermost, in the first shell. So that's 2 of them right over there. These are the inner shell, I guess you could say, so that's the first 2 electrons. And then you have 4 remaining in its outermost shell. And these 4 are considered valence electrons. These are the electrons that actually do the reacting. And if any of this seems unfamiliar to you, I encourage you to watch the videos on Khan Academy on things like valence electrons. But this is a little bit of a review right over here. Carbon has 4 valence electrons, and valence electrons are the ones that do, or that tend to do, the reacting. And so I could, if I wanted to simplify it.
So anybody get a number out of that?
I was about to say, man, you beat me to it. I was about to say all I heard was 666.
Damn.
The number of a man.
666. That's why I wanted to show you that right there. Anybody want to go peep the rest of this? This is dope. Anybody, you guys should study Khan Academy. If you don't know about Khan Academy, he was a dude who was in finances and he wanted to help the world. And he just basically started an online education academy. And he's a Indian guy. And, you know, it just became super famous. And he, like the science, the study that you get on it is equivalent to what you would learn in inside of a university. Like it's like he received so much, like it became so dope. He got funded, he got privately funded for it. And so now like it's crazy. Like so people like you can take Khan Academy University and stuff like that. So anything that you want to check out, you want to learn, Khan Academy is really good. A good breakdown of it.
But Kev, real quick, when it gets privately funded, isn't that kind of when it's usurped, like a
Well,
George
he's not private. He's not privately. He's a nonprofit. So he gets money from the government. He gets. I mean, he's all over the place. Like he gets donations. So when it's privately funded, you don't do that. It's meaning if it's privately funded from one place, yeah. If it's only one place. If you're a nonprofit, you were getting money from everywhere. No.
Gotcha.
So again, so now let's jump back in. So again, chemistry. Carbon is the main basis for chemistry, element for chemistry. Okay, so why are we studying that? Because what was ancient Egypt called?
Kemet.
Kemet. All right. So chemistry right here. Ancient times, chemistry was the word alchemy, right? So what does that come from? So alchemy, this word chemistry comes from alchemy, right? So this is online etymology dictionary for anybody who wants to.
Yeah, I be on there all the time.
So,
I know anytime you see that owl, that's MOOR, ain't it? That owl. Alchemy or algebra or something of that effect.
Yeah, yes. So here we go. Let's click on alchemy. What does alchemy mean? All right, so definition. Alchemy, let's go down here. And it says perhaps. See, this is how they fuck with you. They know this is what it's from. Perhaps from an old name for Egypt, Chemia, literally the land of black earth, which is what? We just watched how many videos of
Carbon.
So in its normal sense, or in its more modern sense, or its mainstream sense, I should say, what is alchemy supposed to be? Like if you heard somebody say, "Oh, he's an he did alchemy," what is that supposed to be?
Like sorcery?
It's like
sorcery, right? Go ahead.
Witchcraft.
Sort of, yeah. But the true thing of alchemy was to change base metals into gold. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what an alchemist was. He would change base metals into gold. So let's look at this. So medieval chemistry, the supposed science of transmutation of base metals into silver or gold, right? Involving all the quest for the universal solvent. Involving also the quest for the universal solvent. the quintessence. And the mid 14th century, from the Old French, alchemy, 14th century, alchemy, 13th century, from the medieval Latin, alchemia, from the Arabic, alchemia, right? From the Greek, that's chemoa, found in the blah blah in the 300s century. I forgot what that was. The ebook says in the decree of Diocletian against the old writings of the Egyptians, all meaning alchemy. So again, so we're dealing with chemistry coming from the science of alchemy, which alchemy dealt with what? It comes from what?
Carbon.
Dealing with the carbon, right? So taking this all the way back, the whole point of what we're trying to get to is why that you were gods and why you were seen as and known of as gods. Because the ancient Khemistans, they were masters of the science of the electron of carbon.